All right, we're recording. So thank you everyone for jumping on tonight. I'm so excited for this Made for More Zoom. For those of you who don't know who I am, I'm Lisa Pollnow. I'm a double diamond in the company. And the reason I wanted to do this Zoom was because a lot of us, we have struggled before we even got into the business. We talk to potentials who, they say they work so many hours a week, or they're a college student, or they have kids, they just don't have the time. Whatever the reason may be, we all struggle in some way. And so I want to interview these two girls tonight, and we're going to have more Zooms later on this month with these girls sharing their stories, the struggles that they went through, and how they overcame those struggles to be successful and where they're at now. If you guys have any questions you want to ask, go ahead and put that in the chat, and then we'll go through those. But I'm just going to go ahead and get started. So Marianne, if you want to welcome yourself and just start with your story and go from there.
Okay, awesome. I'm so excited. So my name is Marianne, and I am a double diamond leader. I have been in the business now it's been 2 years since September, which is crazy because I feel like I still just joined. And before I joined It Works, I went to school multiple times. I went to a community college, and then I went to hair school where I was like, oh my gosh, I love it. But I didn't want to work like those long hours in the salon. And for those of you who don't know, if we go to school, like right afterwards, you don't get a job where it's like, okay, here, you can pay your bills with it. No, it's like minimum wage, maybe, and maybe you get to keep some tips, and it just wasn't worth it. So, I've been working full-time since I was 17. And by full-time, I mean like 65 to 75 hours a week. And I just thought that it was normal because I didn't go to school, or like because I went to school and I didn't do anything with it. So I kind of was just like, oh, well, this is just what normal. If you don't go to school and you don't do anything, like this is what you do. You have to work a crazy amount of hours. And it was working, I think at one point there was like 4 or 5 jobs. It was just nuts. And it was like, oh my gosh. And somehow even working all those hours, I never had any money. It was kind of like you get paid and then you would pay your bills and you'd be left with no money. Or you would not pay your bills and you'd still be left with no money. And it was like, either way, it was just awful. And I remember, I think this is like a couple months before I joined, that I decided that I actually wanted to try the products first. And I tried the Fat Fighters and ThermoFit, went on vacation. I didn't gain any weight. And I was like, this is crazy because, I was eating like, you're on vacation, you're eating garbage, like sweets, ice cream, everything. So I went all out and I came back and I was like, what the heck? I ain't gained any weight. So I was super shocked. So I'm like, okay, I know these products work really well. And I came across Lachelle on Instagram, and I remember going through her Instagram and I was like, oh my gosh. And I just stopped and I saw her holding up a picture or a bottle of Fat Fighters. And I was like, oh my God, this girl is using the same products as I am. And she's so pretty. So I liked it. And then right away she messaged me. And I remember telling her, I was like, oh yeah, like I use the products, but I don't know about it. And I remember watching her, and it took me 2 weeks to watch her. So I remember it was like the buy one, get one free the business builder kit. So you got 2 boxes of wraps. And I was like, oh my gosh. And she had told me about it. And I was freaking out. I was kind of like, I don't know. And I told her, I was like, you know what? Next time I get paid, I'm going to join. And I remember when I first joined, everyone was kind of like, I can't believe you joined this business. My husband was not supportive. He was actually really upset that I joined, and so upset he didn't even come to my first wrap party. I was so mad. My mom was kind of like, okay, it's kind of like Mary Kay, yeah, whatever. And my sister was like, please don't annoy me. I'm not buying anything from you. And everyone else is kind of just like, don't annoy me. Don't annoy me. I don't want any of this stuff. These don't work, blah, blah, blah. So I was kind of like, okay, I remember her talking about like, when she joined, she had, friends from here. And I was like, I don't really have a warm market. So right off the bat, I was kind of like discouraged a little bit. But I had joined because I wanted to help pay for my wedding at the time. And then I also had student loans. And one of the posts that really got me from seeing Lachelle's post was she said I had just paid my student loan from a Fast Start bonus. And I was like, well, I can't even pay my student loan now. Like, I could use that extra $100. And I literally only joined because I thought if I could have like an extra $200 to $300 a month, that'd be awesome. So I joined, and I was really nervous when I first started. So I remember I was so quiet unless they knew me, like so shy, and like I would post and I was like, okay, where is everyone? And, you know, I kept reading these posts, like posting, asking is asking. I was like, okay. And I just remember like hearing that over and over again. I was like, okay, well, I posted, so now what? And I thought I was working so hard because I just posted. No. And it's crazy to think about it now because I'm like, oh my gosh, really? You can't just post and expect people to buy from you. You have to like message the people that are liking your stuff and make sure you're interacting, always building your network. And I just didn't understand that at first. So I was kind of, you know, I had a slow start. And I remember this was 2 years ago when they brought out the bonuses right after Christmas time. And I was like, oh my gosh, I saw a $20,000 bonus and I thought, that could pay for the rest of my wedding. I wouldn't have to worry about anything. Like, this is awesome. And I worked really, really hard. And that was February and March. And I was like, okay, so February, I missed the bonus. And then March came along. I worked really, really hard. And I was like, oh, man, I missed the bonus again. Well, then they brought out, it was a $10,000 bonus. So I was like, you know what? I'll be happy with $10,000. Again, worked my butt off. And I didn't earn the bonus. And at that point, I was kind of like, what do I do? I saw people joining after me, earning these bonuses, and people that just joined, they went Ruby right away. And I was still a distributor. And I was kind of just thinking to myself, okay, well, what am I doing wrong? I'm sending out the messages. I am interacting with people. I'm growing my business. But I was planting a lot of seeds at the time. And I didn't understand it before where I was like, no one's joining. I went through that. There was like 2 days where I was like, no one's joining. I can't do this. And it was just, I don't know, I made myself crazy thinking about it. And after the bonuses were done, I was kind of like, all right, okay, another month went by. And finally on my 10th month, I went Ruby. And that was my first time ever ranking. And I was paid as a distributor all the way for 10 months. So I was a distributor up to 10 months, and then I went Ruby. And then 2 months later, I went Diamond. And this whole time while I'm working, I want to tell you guys is I was working full time and I was also planning a wedding at the same time. And I got married in September. And then later I went up that same month, I went on my honeymoon. I came back and I earned a $5,000 bonus for going Diamond. And it was just like, oh my gosh, why wasn't I doing this all along? And the whole time, like, I just kind of stepped out of my comfort zone little by little. So I remember watching a Zoom or hearing a Zoom with Jessica Pearson. I think that's it. She has like red hair. And she said, if you're not going live, you're hurting your business. And I was like, oh, I don't know. I don't know if I can do it. I have really bad, like, I get really awkward sometimes, I feel like. And so I was thinking to myself, there's no way I could go live. And I remember the first live I did, my hands were like shaking and they're sweating so bad. And I was just going like this, but no one could see them. And I was like, okay, not that bad. It's kind of like blitzing for the first time. Like, I remember the first time I blitzed someone, they were like, I was wearing my lanyard and this lady goes, oh my gosh, do these work? And I literally just stood there. I was like, yeah, they work. They help tighten and tone your skin. Here's my card. And it was just so bad, but it's kind of like the first time doing it, you know, you're going to be scared at first, but then it just gets easier after that. So I went live and I started going live. And after I started going live, this was like in August, right before I went Diamond. This is like July and August. And people were like, what are you doing? Blah, blah, blah. Because when you go live, it also stays up higher on your newsfeed. And people can see your enthusiasm, see how energetic and passionate you are about the business. And that's what I was doing. I was just pouring into everyone that was on my Facebook and just letting them know how excited I am and what this business is going to do. And so that really helped my business. And then, you know, I went Diamond in September, and then 6 months later, I actually went Double Diamond and earn a $30,000 bonus. And that to me was like, oh my gosh, like it was the craziest thing. Cause I remember looking, like when I first joined, looking at the charts, and I was like, just telling myself I'd be happy if I got to Emerald. I wasn't even planning on anything else but Emerald. I looked at Diamond. I thought, man, it'd be nice to get to Diamond, but I wasn't in it for that. I was just in it for like, you know, I saw the 800. I'm like, man, $800 would be awesome. And this whole time too, again, I was up until Diamond, I was working full time. Once I went Diamond, I took 2 2 days off of work, so I was only working part-time and I could focus on my business a little bit more. And then once I went double diamond, I was still working and then just doing like odd jobs here and there, like babysitting and stuff like that. And then finally, actually, let's see, in September of this year, I actually quit my full-time job. So now it works full-time. And you guys, it is the best feeling in the world. I used to work for a swim school, and being like, especially around this time, like being in the water when it's freezing cold outside, getting out, it's been so nice. Like I still talk to some of the people that are there and they're like, oh my gosh, complaining about being in the water all the time. And I'm like, I do not miss it, miss the kids and everything. But I'm just so grateful for this opportunity that we have right now. And now I'm just, working towards, the next level. And it's still crazy to me because I'm like, I just never thought I was going to get here. And, I remember seeing people promote after I joined, and you guys, you just can't let them bother you. You got to put your blinders on. You just got to keep going, because if you keep like focusing on what other people are doing, you're not going to get anywhere. And I've kind of fallen back into that now where I'm like, oh my gosh, she's doing this person's signing all these people and all these customers. Like, what am I doing wrong? But it's like, no, I just need to focus on me and what I'm doing. And yeah, right now I've just been working my business as hard as I can because I want to promote by the end of the year.
I love that. Oh my gosh. I love your story because I just feel like so many people, when they join, they literally like say they're going to do something and then they like just kind of sit at Diamond. And your story, like it took you 10 months to go Ruby, right? Yeah.
Yeah.
And it's just like, it's crazy how you didn't give up and you kept fighting and you kept, working your business, even though, you weren't at that rank yet. And I remember the first time I met you, we were in Rockford at the meeting, and I remember you're like, yeah, I've been sitting at this rank for like 10 months now. And you were like, I'm charted for it, I'm not there yet. And I'm like, girl, you got this. And look where you are now. So I absolutely love your story. I first wanted to start out with, you said that like your husband and your family really didn't support you in the business. How did you like deal with that? Did you kind of just like put your blinders on, or, what did you do with that? Because I know a lot of people have that unsupportive like spouse or family members.
Yeah. So, oh my gosh, there was a time where it was so bad. So, we have to be on our phones and that. And by the time I would get home from work, so I work from 10 to 8. So, sometimes if I was in the water, I wouldn't be able to be on my phone. So by the time I got home, like, okay, I need to catch up on messages. I need to make sure I'm interacting and plan my posts for the next day. And it was kind of like, you're always on your phone. I'm like, yes, but don't you understand? Like, this is going to make money. And I remember we got in a few arguments over it. And finally I was just like, look, I'm going to do it. And I had the attitude like, I don't care what you guys think. Like, you can think that the wraps are stupid or these products don't work when clearly they do. And one thing I want to say is that now every single person in my family has used the products. Like we literally argue over, okay, well, there's only 3 relief pills left. Who's going to have it? It's like, and it's so crazy to think. And, when I first joined, they were like, these don't work, blah, blah, blah. But I just didn't let it stop me because I thought, again, I was only in it just to make like $200 to $300 a month. I thought, man, we would be so happy if we could just get the extra $200 to $300 a month. And now it's like, okay, man, it'd be so awesome if we could have like an extra $10,000 a month.
Right? Yeah. Oh my gosh. Yeah. It's like crazy because, that's how my family was. Like they were so unsupportive, and it's like you kind of like take their negative like criticism and let it fuel your fire and be like, okay, then I'm going to prove you wrong type thing. And
yeah.
So I just know, like, obviously you said like, okay, you worked and then like you were on your phone, you're like, sorry, I'm going to do it anyway. But like, was there ever a point where you would be like, okay, I'm going to work for like an hour and then put my phone down and like hang out with you? Or was it just like you were working anyway and you're going to shut?
There was some times where it was kind of both. So at first I was kind of like, okay, I'll work and then we can, watch TV or something. And then finally, like when the bonuses came out, I was like, I don't care about anything. Like I need to work. And that's when I was planting a ton of seeds. Cause before, like I would message people and they would tell me like, oh, not this time. And I was like, okay, thank you. Like, no, and it's just so crazy to think about it now, because like now it's, if they say no, it's just not right now. And I know that now, like being in the business longer, but now I'm kind of, I do have it where it's separate times. So, you know, as soon as I wake up, that's when I do all my interacting, adding people. I do the same thing at night before you go to bed, but I make sure for like an hour or two that I'm just not on my phone. And then I just spend time, you know, with my family. I do sometimes, like if we're like at a family party or an event, and I'm like, okay, well, it's been a while, I'll get on my phone, and people will give me looks still where they're like, really, are you on your phone? But then I'm like, yeah, if I want the next bonus, and they're like, oh, okay, yeah. Like that's all I have to say is like, I'm going for, and I've been working towards Triple Diamond for a while, but they all, because we've had so many family birthday parties recently, I'm like, no, I just need to do this right now. And they're like, oh, okay, go ahead.
It's so crazy, like how, because my family was the exact same, like they like don't like it at first, like get off your phone, and then now they're like, oh yeah, no, it's fine, like don't worry about it, take as much time as you need, like
Yeah.
it's so crazy. So it's just, I don't know, it's crazy like how if you just like persevere through it, like your unsupportive like family members, they're gonna see the vision just like you do. It's just, it takes some people a week or 2 weeks or a year or, you know, whatever the time limit. So I think that's awesome that like now they support you in it and they use all the products. Like that's just great.
And sorry, real quick, there was one time too where I had just started watching Stranger Things like 2 weeks ago, and they were like, are you doing anything that's productive? Like, were you on your phone? And they're like, now they're keeping me in check. And I was like, I just want to watch one episode. And they're like, but you know, you're really close. So
it's like calling you out. Like you need to be working that binge watching.
I know, now it's nice.
All right, so I wanted to kind of go back to when you first joined. You said that you were working and you were planning your wedding. You know, what was like a day in the life of you with your business? You know, how did you incorporate starting? Like, I obviously know that you were like a distributor for those 10 months. Like, tell me your schedule, like when you first started to like right before you went Ruby in those 10 months. Like, how did you just fit this business into your life?
Okay, so when I first started, I was really, for like a month, I was just posting. I thought I was going to get people just by posting, which I feel like that's a misconception that people have when they join this business. They think, oh, I just have to post and that's it. And it's really not. And I remember listening to it wasn't meetings, but like the phone calls that we would have and hearing like things that they would do. I was like, okay, so for a month, I was really just only posting. And then after that, I worked from 10 to 8. So I would get up, and before I would go to work, I would do my interactions, add people, and then I would go to work. And on my lunch break, that's when I would send my messages like, hey, have you ever been interested in joining at Works before? And then I would get to the pool, come home, and then get back to the people that messaged me. And it was a lot, pretty much for like a whole year. That's what I was doing. That was my schedule. Otherwise, on Fridays was my day off. And I would just work from like, I think it was like, I'm not a morning person, more probably like 10 to like 11 or 12, and I would just message people, but I wasn't putting in as much work as I do now. Like before, I would just think like, okay, I sent out 15 messages, that's it, I put in my work. And it was like I wasn't going anywhere with that. And then finally, it took me a while to start blitzing people. It took me a while to actually talk to people about the products. But when I was at work, what I started flying here at work, what I would start doing is I would bring all my products, like I always had them in my purse, and I started like drinking my greens at work or taking my fat fighters at work. And everyone was kind of like, does this stuff really work? Like they saw it on my Facebook and they were just still really like questioning about it. And then after a couple months of using like the hair, skin, nail pills, my one friend was like, okay, what are you doing? Because your hair looks so long. And I just started talking to people about our products, like everywhere I was. It didn't matter if I was like with my friends or anywhere. I just made sure that I always had greens in a water bottle in my purse. So if I was at the gym or anywhere, I would drink it in front of people. They're like, oh, what are you drinking? And it just got easier for me to finally talk to them, because for a while I couldn't be on my phone at work. So I was like, okay, I got to do something else. And really just talking to people was huge for me. I got I remember at work, that's when I signed 4 customers just from the people that I work with, and then 2 distributors just because they saw my posts and I was able to talk to them almost every day about it.
It's like, it's so, we forget like person to person talking. And I love that like you went to work and you brought your stuff with, like it's something so simple as like using your products in front of people, or like wearing your gear, bringing that water bottle, like catches so much attention and we forget about that. And so I like that you kind of like did that, because a lot of people don't think to do that. But I wanted to say, if anyone knows Lachelle, okay, because you said you're like, okay, I didn't want to blitz, like I was scared to go live. And this is what I always think about when I think about Lachelle, is she goes, if you don't want to do something and then you do it, or I forget how she like explains it, but she's like, if you do something and like you're so nervous about it, she's like, you did it, but did you die? Like, are you gonna die from blitzing that one person? And like that's like always what I think about. And so when you're like, I was so scared to do it, I was just like, well, did you die? Like that's like always what I tell myself. I'm like, okay, you just need to do this. But I like that you just like brought the products with, and everyone needs to start doing that. If you work, like literally bring your stuff with you, because you sign customers and distributors obviously from bringing that stuff with. So something just so simple.
Yeah, and I still do that now too. So like when I go to the gym and I wait in the locker room, sometimes I'll wait for like 2 to 3 people to either like finish up their workout or to get in there before I take a thermofit, or I'll be drinking my greens. But I make sure that there's people in there. And almost every single time, except for one time, someone was like, "You're not allowed to take steroids in here." I was like, "I'm not taking steroids." And so I had to tell her, it's an easy way to start a conversation, but most times when you're mixing the greens in front of anyone, even if you go to like Target and you're just waiting in line, people are like, what are you drinking? What are you drinking? Or if you put it into like if you have it in those clear Starbucks cups that they give you, people are like, oh my gosh, what drink is that? Because they want to know. And it's like, oh no, it's just my greens. Here's a sample of one if you want to try it. And people love that. It's so easy. And sometimes I don't even realize it either, because like I went to the store a couple weeks ago and I had the greens and I was just drinking it because I wasn't feeling well and I was not ready to talk to anyone. Like I looked homeless almost, and someone was like, what are you drinking? And I'm like, oh my gosh, I wasn't ready to talk to someone, but I did it, and it's so easy. And I love that I still do that now, because it's like, if you just talk to people about it, they can hear your passion about the products and they know that you're using them, and they're like, oh, okay, well, she's obviously not wasting money on just buying all these products.
Right. Absolutely. So how did you stay like motivated during those like first 10 months? You probably felt like you were so stuck and like you weren't going anywhere. So like, what did you do to like motivate yourself to keep working, to keep pushing through the hard times? Because I know a lot of people do struggle with that, and they let those like times when they're not like moving forward kind of like a reason to stop their business.
I just remember like there was my biggest check, and this is going to sound so funny to some people, but like my biggest check was like $120. And I remember thinking like, oh my gosh, an extra $120 just from working from my phone. Like I was just taken back, even though I felt like I was putting in all this work, but I was just so like grateful for that I was just, I don't know, that kept me going. I remember I think it was when Lachelle went diamond, because she went diamond in December and after she had joined in July, and I was like, oh my gosh. And she made like, I remember seeing her post like $2,000 extra a month. And then what I start doing is I start going in my head and thinking of like, okay, well, if we pay all the bills with this check and then we'd have an extra $2,000, we can either pay off the car. Like I just started thinking of all these different things that we could do. And I remember because I had the wedding coming up, I'm like, well, I've got to push myself. We are going to need extra money for the wedding, then for the honeymoon and everything. And, I just remember seeing Lachelle's post, like going diamond in like big letters, like extra $2,000 a month. And I was like, oh my gosh. And I never once thought about like doing this full time. I thought that anything that I do, this is just going to be extra. And then afterwards, I was at my job for 7 years, and in the last 2 years, I had not gotten a raise, but like I got put on more hours and everything. And I was just like, oh my gosh, I was tired of getting up early, going to work, coming home. And like, that was my routine. And I was just so sick of it. So once I went diamond, I was like, all right, now I need to push myself so that I can do this full time. And again, I saw, other leaders like, oh, this is what I'm doing today. I'm at the zoo with my family. I'm doing this. And I was just, man, I want to do that. That seems so fun. And so then that started pushing me like, okay, I want to come home. I want to come home from work. I want to do this full time. And then I just really started putting the work in. I just stayed consistent. And that was the biggest thing, was being consistent. So everyone that I messaged, I wrote their name down. And I will say for like probably about a year, I didn't write anyone's name down. And that sounds so bad, but now I write down everyone's name because it's so much easier than scrolling through your messages. You're like, okay, here's one. You're going to lose people that way, and you'll forget about people. So I started writing their names down and just following up with them consistently, made sure I interacted with them. And then the biggest thing was just being consistent.
Yeah, it's so true. Like if you're not consistent, you're not going to see results. And so the more consistent you are, I mean, you're going to be successful because you're working. But I like how you said that you were like, okay, I could use this check to like pay these bills, and then this. It's kind of like you're putting a vision to like your goals, and you're kind of like, you're like, okay, I can do this. It wasn't like maybe you didn't like write it down, or maybe you did, but like I think that's so important. Is we oftentimes forget, like, just like visualize what we want and then work for it. Like if you want that $2,000 check, think about, okay, it could pay for daycare, it could pay for these bills. Like I think just like visualizing it and like telling yourself, oh, I could do this. Like I really feel like it does keep you more positive than saying like, well, I only got $100 check. And like I feel like you were just like so excited for that $120 check that like you didn't let yourself get down. Like obviously you probably had those like down days, but I feel like you just kind of were like, I can do this. And the extra $100, like if I didn't join, then I wouldn't have that right now.
Exactly. And it was kind of too, like, I was looking back now, I think, okay, but I was getting 100, maybe I got 120, maybe it was 80 here and there, but was I really putting in all the work that I could have? Like, yeah, I could have gotten up a lot earlier than I could have and messaged people. I could have went to bed a little bit later. I could have utilized my break time, my weekends. Saturday nights, like, okay, should I go out or should I work on this? And there was times where, I went out and I didn't really make too much time for this. So I look back and I'm like, well, I mean, you get what you put in. And I think about that now where it's like, well, now I'm putting in all this work and now it's paying off. Why wasn't I doing that before?
It's like utilizing your time that you have. It's just making choices, So
yeah, exactly.
I just love your story because there's just, I don't know, I just love it because I feel like just so many people are stuck, and I feel like you kind of just gave them like, just visualize, be consistent, and you can do it. So if you have anything else that you want to share, I don't have anything else I want to ask you, but share anything last that you want, and then just give us one tip that you would give to someone that's, struggling, that's been at the same rank for a while, or they're just getting started and they're working and they just have so much on their plate that they don't think they can do this.
So I want to talk about, and my biggest tip is self-development. And self-development has been huge, especially the last couple months. So before, and don't laugh at me, guys, but when I would hear self-development, I thought it was like It Works trainings, like, because they were developing you. So I was like, okay, I would listen to all these trainings and I would hear like self-development training. So I just thought they were the same thing. So even this was up until June of this year that I've never listened to a self-development, nothing, didn't read a book or anything. And so I started listening to these Tony Robbins videos, and I was like, oh my gosh, in the month of September, I was listening to them every single day, and I read You Are a Badass, or I think that's it, You're a Badass. And it was awesome. I remember thinking like, I'm a strong, independent woman. I can do anything I want. Like I was just so excited. And I'm the whole time thinking, why was I not doing this before? Because you really think about like, okay, well, was I positive on this, or am I thinking negative? Because sometimes, you get in your head and you're like, I don't know if I can do this. I don't know if I can say this to my customers. I need this, I need that. And like, you go through all these things, but then if you do these trainings, they help you through that. And it was kind of like, why wasn't I doing this all along? And self-development and being on the trainings have been huge, because every training that I've been on, I always learned something new. It doesn't matter. You could hear the same story over and over again, but there might be something that you pick up right away. And that was, like I said before, in the one video with Jessica Pearson, that has always stuck with me. She's like, go live because it's going to change your business. And she talked about it for like 2 minutes, and that was it. But it stuck with me. It's the same thing anytime I do go ahead on another training. I always learn something new, and you always have to stay plugged in, because if you stop doing trainings, you stop doing self-development, then your team stops doing it, because your team wants to see you do it too. So if you're not getting on trainings, why are they going to get on trainings? If you put in the work and show your team, hey, this is what you're doing, they're going to do the same thing with you. And it's also going to help from getting people or having people leave if you are just on top of your team. I'm very big on like teamwork and making sure keeping them motivated, because I know what it's like to struggle and like, hey, yeah, you might not have had the best month, but let's move forward. What can I do to help? And I make sure that I'm always available to help my team.
Yeah, that's so true. Literally, like, your team is watching you. So if you're not working for this, they're probably not going to too. And it's just like, you also have to make sure like you're 100%, and that self-development is seriously, like you said, you really never did it. Because I thought it was trainings too. I was like, oh, it's just like the Zoom and the phone calls, right? Like, and Rachel, my upline, Rachel, she was like, Lisa, no. And I was like, wait, what? And she's like a book or like a motivational speech. And I'm like, oh, I didn't.
Yeah, like I just thought, okay, well, I was on this training, because when they would say that, when people talk about self-development trainings, they always put them together. So I just assumed it was the same thing.
Yeah. I actually learned this today, and I wanted to share it with you all because you brought up self-development, and it was on our Diamonds and Above page. Brittany Landrum, she is a presidential, and she shared this today, and I was like, wow, it's so weird. So, okay, she was like, someone, I forget who she was talking to, they're like, yeah, I read 7 self-development books at like a time. And they're like, she's like,
Yeah.
how do you manage 7 self-development books at a time? And she goes, okay, let me explain it to you. One day I may be lacking like in my faith. So I have a self-development book on like my faith. And then the next day I may be good in my faith, but my marriage may be lacking. So I have a self-development book on like marriage. So you have a different category of self-development books that'll apply to like your life. So whether it's like personal growth or your business or your like marriage or your faith, you have a different book that goes to each of those categories, because some days you're full in like a certain category but you're lacking in another, and so you want to make sure you're 100%. And sometimes just reading like that one book isn't gonna fulfill you. So I just thought that was really cool, because I was like, how do you read 7 books and I know, but it makes sense now. So
I know when I was listening to that, that's what I was thinking. I'm like, when she first said, I'm like, 7, I have a hard time finishing one, but she's not doing them all at once. And I was like, well, that's so true, because there are some days where I'm like, I don't know. For me, it's like some days I feel like my business is just doing awesome, but then like with my family, it's kind of like, oh, I don't really talk to them. What's going on? So I'm like, okay, so then I go back to them, but then I'm like, wait, what's going on with my business? And it's just hard. Sometimes it's hard to balance, but I love that she said that, because I feel like that's going to make it so much easier.
Yeah. If you're not 100% as like you and as your like in your mindset, you really can't give 100% to your business, to anything in life. So self-development is just a huge key, not even just for your business, but life in general. And so thank you so much for bringing it up, because I feel like that's something that people oftentimes forget about, especially when they're brand new. So, well, thank you for sharing your story. Congratulations on coming home. That's so exciting. You deserve it.
Thank you.
I've watched your journey literally since day one, and you're such an inspiration. So keep going. And I'm so happy that you came on. So
Thank you.
You're welcome. Okay, so now we're going to go to Audrey. And I became friends with Audrey through our Going Triple group, and her story is just like, I don't even know how to put it into words. So I'm just going to let you speak about your story, and probably going to have some tears flowing.
Okay. Can you hear me?
Yeah, you're good.
Okay, it said my audio was messed up, so let me know if it messes up. But I'm Audrey Amos, and I joined this business when I was 19. So I was really young, and I didn't really know what I know now when I joined the business, like a lot of people do. But I sort of found it differently than a lot of people, because I, of course, like found it on social media, which I'm sure like majority of y'all did. But I was just scrolling, and I kept on seeing, like these belly pictures, and I was like, okay, compare belly to belly. Are the belly buttons the same? Is that freckle the same? Are these photoshopped? All the things. So it was about 3 months before, no, it was like 4 months before my wedding. And I went to get my dress altered. And I don't know if y'all stress eat, but I stress eat. And so I stress ate because I was planning like a big fat Greek wedding, but it was like a big fat Southern wedding. I don't know if y'all watched that movie before. So I was planning that. And I was just really stressed out. So I had gained some weight, and I went to go put on my dress, and it was a very expensive dress, and it didn't zip up. So I was like, oh crap. And so, I'm like crying, and like the wedding dress lays, and I'm like, you have to like let it out. And they're like, we can't let it out anymore. Like, this is a dress that doesn't let out. And I was like, okay, so I've got to lose some weight. So, I, went back to these It Works products. I had saw some, results, and I had really looked at, people that were on my Facebook page and how they presented themselves, because
Go and go to bed.
I'm from a small town, and we just don't have that really quality of people, if you know what I'm saying. So we have a lot of like drama Facebook people, those kind of things. And the girl whose post I saw, she was just always full of drama. So I was like, I really don't want to order from her, because she like switches from companies and all this kind of stuff. So I was like, I'm just going to Google about these products. I'm going to research, because they're probably a scam anyway. They probably don't work, whatever. And so I Googled about it. And that's sort of when the business came up. And I was like 1 a.m. YouTube watching everybody, Joel, Steph, Jade, everybody. And I was just like, oh my God, these people are so successful. They have all these emotional stories and blah, 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 blah. And I was like crying watching like Alyssa Billiou's about her from like welfare to millionaire. And I'm like, oh gosh. And so I had actually Googled, I'm a little bit different. I had knew that I wanted to do it, but I was like, I really want to do it good if I want to do it, you guys. So I Googled, I was like, top income earners with It Works Global in Georgia. And a bunch of people came up. And I had actually messaged a few of them. And I really just like Facebook stalked people. I'm a bad Facebook stalker. Went all the way back to like 2001 photos kind of thing. And I found my enroller, Jessica. And I was like, oh my gosh, she's so pretty. And she's got like kids, and she's a mom. And look at like this perfect life she has, you guys. Facebook girl. I was like, oh my gosh, she's so perfect. I want to be her. Trade lives. And I was like, okay, if I join her, she's going to tell me how to be like her and do her life. And she was talking about, getting home to stay at home with her babies and all this kind of stuff. So I was like, okay, that's intriguing. And I need to lose weight. And she has like a rockin' bod. So, I need to join. And so, you got to understand, Jessica didn't know who I was. I was a stranger, and it was like, I don't know, 11:30 at night. And so her number was on there. So I called her, and I was like, you don't know me, but I know you from Facebook and Google and all this kind of stuff. And I really want to join. And I had looked into the business for about 3 months, you guys. I was really skeptical. I was like, it's a scam. I made fun of people that sold wraps. And I made fun of people that sold really anything on Facebook back then. And so I was like, okay, you don't know me, sign me up. Don't ask me any questions, because I might change my mind. Like I understand. I watched YouTube. I understand, what I'm doing. Just sign me up. I know it's $99. Stop asking me questions. Just sign me up. And so I think I freaked out a little bit, but I signed her up. And I was so excited. So I had asked my husband a few days before. I was like, hey, Lee, who's my fiance at the time. And I was like, Lee, I really want to sign up for this business. But, if the wraps don't work, they come in a kit. If they don't work, I won't sell it, But I think they work because I compared the bellies, I was really technical. I did the freckles and everything. I was like, they really do work. And he was like, oh, my God, please, Audrey, don't do that. I can't be with you if you're gonna be one of them people. And so I was like, whatever. And so he was like all against it. It was a bunch of fights. And so he was asleep, and I signed up. And so I was like, okay, he doesn't have to know, if I lose weight, then he gets to know and be like a positive thing. And so signed up. I didn't wait on my kit, because she told me, Jessica was like, don't wait on your kit, start right away. And so I was so excited, you guys. I'm sure you all were when you joined, and you're like, mass group text all your friends and all your family. You're like, I just joined this really awesome business, and this girl I joined up under, she's making like tons of money, like $10,000 a month, and she does it like full time from home with her kids. And look how pretty she is. She has blonde hair, and I have blonde hair, and we're gonna be best friends. And I was like, this is an awesome business, and I'm gonna lose weight before my wedding, and you can lose weight too. I was like, really long. And my sisters messaged me back, or they're like, are you freaking kidding me? You joined that business? Oh my gosh, it is such a scam. It's a pyramid scheme. It's this. I'm never going to buy anything from you. Why would you join something like that without consulting us first? And I was like, oh crap. I was like, man, now I'm not going to have any customers. I was like, I'm the last of 7 children, you guys. So you need 4 customers. I was like, I'm going to have like 8. I have 7 siblings. And so I was like, I can rack these customers up really fast. And yeah, they were all against it. My parents were all against it. My parents are really traditional, like really, really traditional. And I had to, call them and tell them I was doing this. And they were like freaking out. And they're like, did you look at the compensation plan? Did you know it's illegal to do this and that and blah, 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 blah. And so, they weren't supportive either. So I was like, well, I'm not going to have any friends or family sign up. This really stinks. So, Jessica had given me, y'all probably all heard about this 72-hour challenge to, get 4 little customers and you get a shirt. And I was like, a shirt? I love shirts. I was like, I love clothes. It says it's so cute. I could do that. I was like, I really want a shirt. I was like, any kind of contest. I'm really competitive. I really like contests. And so I was like, okay, whatever. I'm going to find some people. And so I started posting, and y'all know how that goes. Like get some negativity, get some likes, you get some dislikes. And so I was like, well, this isn't going to work. So I started messaging some people that I thought would really like the product. So like people that I don't really talk to, like my teachers. Like, it sounds random, but I had just graduated high school. I was like, my teacher in social studies, she used to talk about them wrinkles all the time. I can message her about this. And so I made like a 100 list of people, and I started messaging them. And I think that was a huge thing because I had watched, I was obsessed with, Jay Cooper, and I had watched a video where she was like, posting is not asking, like y'all were talking about. And so I was like, okay, I can post and ask. And so that's where my first 4 customers came from, and I got them in 72 hours. So I was like, when you get 4 customers in 72 hours, that's why it's so important to do that challenge with your newbies. You're like, oh my gosh, I can do this. I'm successful. I'm going to be like, so big in this business. I'm going to be a Ruby. Ruby's so big when you join. I'm like, and it is big, but you're like, Ruby's like the top notch. You're like, oh my gosh, if I get to Ruby, I'm like, that's the best in the world. And so I was like, first goal, Ruby. And so I got there. I went to Ruby very fast because I was messaging people. I was not scamming them because Jessica taught me how to message right away. She was like, Audrey, don't say all that stuff. And so she taught me how to message and do those kind of things. So I went to Ruby pretty fast. My husband's still like, are you seriously doing this business? Don't you? And I had awesome results, you guys. I could fit back in my wedding dress. And he was like, you better not put those pictures on Facebook. If you put those pictures on Facebook, I'm gonna have to hear it from all my friends. Do not put, that is inappropriate. Do not put your pictures on Facebook. And I was like, oh yeah, whatever. And so I put them on Facebook, and y'all, it blew up. I had lost a ton of weight with the triple threat, which was really big when I joined. And I was rapping, and all these people were like, those products really work. And I think that's a huge thing that you have to understand, you guys, is you wouldn't open like a clothing boutique with no clothes. So it was sort of like this business. Like, I was broker than dirt, like sold clothes at Plato's Closet to join and get the $99. I was really broke. And so, but I also couldn't fit in my wedding dress. So I really needed to lose some weight. And Jessica was like, it's really important to be a product of the product. And so I was like, okay, I can do this. But I'm really bad about eating bad and stuff. And so a lot of people were like, okay, well, the products don't work if, you're not exercising and do all these kind of stuff. So I was still like a skeptical person in my mind. So I was like, okay, well, I'm going to use them without like exercising and eating that great or something. And they still really worked really good. So I had already had like a good testimony and those kind of things. So my husband still was very unsupportive. But I had signed him up without him asking, and he didn't know until the kit came in and it said his name on it. I was like, I don't know why your name's on it. They just sent me an extra one. So I signed him up, and then this was when like $500 Ruby bonuses were going on. So we had double bonuses. So my first month I had made, like first full month, I had made like, I don't know, almost $1,000 with commissions, Rap Cash. and the Ruby bonus, which was huge. And so I could already see like the money side of it. So I really sat down and I was like, okay, what is my why? Because they were talking about, what is your why and all this kind of stuff. And I was like, my why was I needed some money. That was all. I just needed some money. I was broke. And so they were like, your why is supposed to make you cry. And I'm like, oh God. So I was like, I gotta really dig deep. So I really dug deep, you guys. And so I was like, I've always, always, always wanted to be a mom, you guys, like more than anything in the world. And this is probably when I'm going to cry. I'm a very bad crier. But I always wanted to be a mom. So I was like, that's one of the reasons that like drove me to the person that I joined, was because she was a mom and a stay-at-home mom. I was like, I want to do that. And you got to understand that I didn't mention this, but I was a full-time nursing student, 18 credit hours internship, 3 part-time jobs, and planning that big fat Southern wedding with the 12 bridesmaids and the 12, flower girls and all that kind of crap. A lot. I had a lot. There was no time for this business at all. There was zilch, like zero time. And so once I sat down and I was like, okay, I want to be a mom. And that was one of the things I wanted to be a nurse, because I wanted to help people. But I knew that nurses got to pick their hours. And I was like, you know what I can do, you guys? I can work nights when the babies are sleeping, and then I'll be able to play with them all day, and I'll be able to do all this mom stuff. I was like, and then I worked my first 12-hour shift, and I was like, how do people function the next day? I was like, you have to sleep the next 12 hours, and then you only have like 5 hours for your next shift. And it was like, I can't do that. And so I just had no time. So what I decided was, I realized that I really, we're a social media age, especially like millennials. We're all about Instagram, Snapchat, Facebook, all that kind of stuff. And so I would even be on the toilet and be on Snapchat. Like, y'all are. You are. You're just like peeing and you're like, oh, Instagram. And so you all are. Don't lie about it. So that was the thing. So I would just take longer potty breaks at work. And, I would just do these things, like utilize my time. Like when I was taking a shower in the morning, I was listening to those. I knew what personal development was in the beginning. Y'all didn't. I Googled it. I Google lectures, everything. I knew what personal development was. So I was always listening to personal development when I was like doing my makeup and like training videos and all this kind of stuff. And I just, instead of like ever having like the TV on, it was always like YouTube. It was my BFF. So I just learned a lot with it. And I just learned how to utilize like the time that I had, the very, very little time. And it goes back to, a lot of people have unsupportive people in their lives. And it was really big with my husband, because I had, I saw the vision. I was like, I had saw the vision so big, and I had watched so many videos that I knew that I was nobody different than they were, and I could be just as successful. And they had unsupportive husbands, all this kind of stuff. But he didn't understand that. And so, I don't know if y'all watched Aspen's video today, but it was really, really good. And she just talked about, life is always going to have bumps. Your business is going to have bumps. Your marriage is going to have bumps. And I didn't really understand that, because, I'm young and dumb and was 19. And so I was like, we're fighting all the time. Like, is this normal? Like, is this really normal? Like, should we be fighting this much? Like, am I, I just got married. Is this normal? I was like, should I quit this business? Because it's like driving a freaking like nail into our dang marriage. Because we were fighting all the time about it. And it took the point where I had to just sit him down. And this is something I recommend if you have somebody that's unsupportive, just sit him down. And I was like, look, Lee, you just have to give me like 90 days. Okay. Give me 90 days. And I promise you, we will make this much money by the end of this 90 days. If we don't, then that's it. I'll quit the business, whatever. And I was very confident that I could do that. And it sort of brought him like where he was like, okay, she's really passionate about it. She really wants to do this. I might not understand, but, I married her. I've got to be supportive in some kind of way. And so that was a huge thing for us. So he sort of like got off my back and was like, okay, I'll just let her do this. And then I went to conference, which is a huge thing. You guys, if you don't have your conference ticket, like you need to jump off here and go buy it real quick and then jump back on. Conference is like amazing. And when Jessica had told me to, go to conference, I was like, it'll change your life. And I was like, no, it won't. It's just an event, you guys. I was like, it's just in Florida. I'll go because it's at the beach, but it's really not going to change my life. I'm sure it's great, but whatever. And I had went as a Ruby. No, I had went as an Emerald. I had just promoted to Emerald that month. I went as an Emerald. My husband was a Ruby. I drove by myself from Georgia, 19 years old. And of course my parents were freaking out because I'm like driving to Florida from Georgia, 19, going for this pyramid scheme thing. And so I went there. I met Jessica for the first time. She was living in Missouri, so I didn't know who she was, still stranger. And I went there, and you guys, oh God, it changed my life. It completely changed my life. I was like, dang, that Jessica's right. So it was really life-changing. So I left there, and I was like, I had watched all these people and heard all these. It's one thing to watch it on YouTube, and then you see them in person, and you like get to touch them and take pictures with them. And we're like, oh my gosh, Jocelyn Yates is a real person. She really is. She's not just like them fake Instagram people. Like, she's real. And so like those kind of things was just like, it hit me, and I was like, oh my God, these people are no different than me. And so I was like, I had just promoted to Emerald, you guys. Emerald, you got to think Emerald to double diamond is a huge jump, and Ruby to diamond is a huge jump. So I came home. It was 2 weeks. I don't understand why they did this, but conferences in like the middle of February. When I went like February 14th, and we had until like February the 28th, of course, the shortest month, to get these bonuses. Well, I had just joined the business, and I didn't understand that they might extend it. But I was like, they said the deadline's here, and I'm not going to ever be able to get a bonus again, and I'm never going to be able to get a bonus. So I came back as an Emerald, you guys. And I don't know what Emeralds make, like $900 a month or something. I came back at an Emerald, and I was like, I'm going to quit school, and I'm going to quit my jobs and do all these things. Oh, that really stirred the pot right then. But I put in a 2-week notice at my work, and I was like, okay, if I could be a diamond by 2 weeks. So, and I'll get this like bonus. It was, heck, I don't know. I think it's like 20,000 or something. And so I was like, I'll get this bonus if I go diamond by this amount of time, and I'll put in my 2 weeks notice. It's like God sent, like perfect 2-week time. So I put in my 2-week notice, and oh man, I really did like my job because I was working at daycare. Once again, wanted to be a mom, really like kids. So I was like, I just really got to put in my 2-week notice because I'm going to do this wrap business, this wrap thing, it's going to really work out. I was like so unconfident at the time. Put in my 2-week notice. I was like, but I'll be back if it doesn't work. So I put in my 2-week notice, and I went to work. I was still working, you guys. I still had to do all that kind of stuff. But I mean, I was pulling, like letting like 2-3 hours of sleep. I would have like little cat naps at my desk or something, like to get some late sleep. And I was like downing energy drinks and greens and all this kind of stuff. And I went ham, you guys. I printed out my Facebook friends list. I was messaging like crazy. And I wasn't like cold messaging where I hadn't built relationships, because I had been in the business for like 4.5 months by then. So I had talked to some people and stuff, but I was like, you guys, I was so fired up from conference that you could pour like a whole gallon of water on me, and I would not even like go out a little bit. Like, I was just so fired up. And so people can feel that passion, like y'all were talking about in the live videos and stuff. I don't think there was live videos when I was doing this. If there was, I did not do them. But probably should have if there was. But I was just on fire, and I was just messaging and writing down names and writing down names and writing down names. And I was just so confident of assuming the sale. I wasn't like, when do you get paid? I was like, all right, at my computer now, give me your info. Let's sign up on the phone. Okay, I can do this while I'm signing up a customer. Like, I was so confident, and I was getting people on the phone and just talking and talking and talking and talking. And it was sort of like the airplane that they talk about, and you're like, you have to keep on going. And I was like working so hard, and Lee was like, you're making this amount of money and you're working like 24 hours a day. And that was only did that for like those 2 weeks when I was trying to promote. And I was like, bonuses, bonuses, bonuses. And I had got locked in for diamond, and Lee had gotten locked in for diamond. And I was like, oh crap, we can go diamond and double. And it had never occurred to me ever in this business that there was ranks past diamond. I was like, I knew it, but I was like, those are for those crazy people that, want to do this a lot and, work like 24 hours a day. I was like, just diamond. Diamond's really good. Like, I can do diamond. And so I had just kept on working, you guys. And we had promoted, like, I don't know if y'all ever saw that video, but it's on YouTube. You can go watch it if you want to cry. It's like a video of me crying about how I told Lee 3 days before that we could probably make it to diamond, but there was no way in like God's green earth that we were going to make it to double. Like, no way, no way, no way. And I went out, and I was so desperate for you guys. And I got another video on YouTube about this. I went out and I went to these like salons and stuff. And I went in there and I said, it's Customer Appreciation Day. I would love to wrap one of y'all for free to show you how this product works. And it was like God opened the floodgates. I had signed like 30 customers within just like those few days. And just they were like, oh my gosh, I can feel it working. And the girl beside her was like, oh, you can feel it working? God, here's my money. Let me sign up if you can feel it working. They didn't even see the results yet. And it was just because I was still on fire, you guys. And it was just, it was way outside my comfort zone. And I will tell you something that y'all talked a little bit about blitzing. And the first place that I went to and did this at, it's a really funny story now, but I definitely cried afterwards. I went into this business and I said, it's Customer Appreciation Week. I'm a small business owner in the area and I would love to give you my my business coupon. And she looked at it and she said, oh, it says wraps. And I was like, yeah, they really work. Would you like to see my personal results? And she was like, no. And there was a trash can beside her, and she threw it in the trash can while I'm standing right there. And so I was like, oh, geez. So I was like, this isn't going to work at all. So, of course, I went back to the car and, like, cried for a little bit. Had, like, 5-minute pity party. And so that's something that y'all have to understand, that that's probably never really happened to anybody else. But it didn't stop, you know, me, because you're going to have those people. All of y'all have had those people on Facebook that are just negative. But do they pay your bills? That was one of the things that I really had to look at, you know, like, are they going to pay my bills? Is what they're doing right now really going to matter to me, like, in a year from now when I'm making, you know, like, whatever, and I'm, like, on stage at an event, you know, is it really going to care? You know, no. And so I was like, I'm never going to see this person again. I'm definitely not going to go back in this business again. It scared me to death. So I just did that, and we double promoted. So we went double diamond. So Lee went from a ruby to a diamond, and I went from an emerald to a double diamond within that amount of time. So I was 5 months in, and we had earned $72,000 in bonuses, you guys. Holy crap. And then back then, like, double was making about, I don't know, like 5,000 or 6,000 a month, and diamond was about $2,000 a month. So I was like, oh, ooh, this is good. I was like, you guys, this is really good. This is some good money. I was like, this is like, what do people do with this much money? Because my parents didn't have that much money. I was 7 children. Good gosh, we had hand-me-downs and everything. There wasn't any extra. And I was like, I can, like, get my nails done and stuff for once and do all this kind of stuff. And so that's sort of when it hits you. I know that a lot of people probably aren't new on here, so I'm going to be really, really honest with you guys and say that double diamond is an awesome rank with awesome income. But I got really comfortable. And I was like, this is great income. And I didn't really understand, because I'm not a green, I'm not a reader. I did not read that compensation plan. And I didn't, like, I knew about residual income, but I thought residual income was like, you made it and you sort of, like, stayed there. And I don't have to really work as much. That's not the case. And so I was like, this is great income. And I had just gotten Lee on board. He was, like, selling wraps. He was so supportive. We got to events, and I was, like, a double for a little while. And I was like, not really talking to people anymore. I had gotten like I don't know, sort of like nervous. Does that make sense? Like, I just got like I dropped back by sort of like to a like a newbie mindset. I wasn't doing personal development anymore. I wasn't doing the things that had gotten me to double. And it was it's something that really changes you if you're a really busy person, and then your schedule changes so drastically to do this full time from home, and I'm like, oh my goodness, what do people do all day when they're at home? I'm like, Netflix and laundry, and I can go do this and go get my nails done and go get a massage and do all this kind of stuff. And I was like, oh, well, I'll just work my business tomorrow. You know, there's always tomorrow. And I didn't have a schedule. So I quickly went from being a double diamond to dropping. And I had stayed at a double diamond, and I was really great, strong, great, all that kind of stuff. And I didn't really drop until I came home, and, you know, like, God, like, I was like, God, this is the best life ever. Oh my gosh, I'm 19, and, you know, this is going to be like forever, and this is going to be great. And then the devil happened. Like, life happened, you guys. It was life, one after one after one. And it's back to, like, Aspen's video that she was talking about today, is life is going to have bumps. And I was young and dumb, and I didn't really understand that life really had bumps for people that had money. Like, I was like, I have money, you know, people don't have bumps that have money. And so then I was like, then life happened. And by life, I mean, like, our grandparents passed away. And then by life, I mean that you remember how I really wanted to be a mom. We found out that we were infertile, and I'm the last of 7 children with 12 nieces and nephews. There's infertile isn't a word in our family. We get pregnant on birth control kind of thing, you know, and so that was like a hit hard. And if you know anybody that deals with infertility or anything like that, it is hell on your marriage. It is really hard. We were newlyweds. I was doing, you know, this crazy business, and we were hit hard with that. And so we automatically were told to start fertility treatments, and we did all that kind of stuff, you guys. And here I was, you know, with a health and wellness business, and I'm back to eating my fillings again. And I had gained a heck of a lot of weight, you guys. I gained like 30 pounds very fast, and to the point where like I was embarrassed to talk to anybody outside of social media that couldn't see just my face about this business. I was embarrassed to, you know, blitz somebody anymore, because I was like, what is this girl gonna think? She's like, this fat girl is blitzing her. Like, that's what she's gonna think. And I was like, I'm not gonna blitz these people anymore. I'm not gonna wear my It Works shirts to the grocery store anymore. What if they ask me what works? And I'm like, you know, it worked, but I don't do it anymore really, because we were on fertility treatments and we couldn't do the products as much, and I was eating my feelings really bad. And so if you don't have that like perfect body, I think that I had in this image, I was like, I have to have this perfect body to be an It Works distributor. I was like, I have to have it to be successful and all this kind of stuff. And so it really just set me back really hard. And so then life got really good again. We got pregnant, and it was like all glorious. And when life is good, I'm good. Like, I'm like working my business really hard again, and I'm signing people, and everything is great. And then life happened to some of my diamonds, and my diamonds left, and they were my best friends, and they just adios, never heard from me again. It's been a year since they left. They're still gone. And I was like, what in the world is going on here? I'm like, my team is falling apart. And I was like, I haven't changed anything. I'm still investing in them. And where are they going? And life had just happened to them too, you guys. And that was something that I didn't understand, that, you know, people come into this business, and some people just aren't meant to stay. And that's a hard concept, especially in this business where we become besties with some of these people. And it was a hardship on me, because I was like, no, I'm about to go triple. Where did you go? Like, what are you doing? I thought you were going to go diamond and double and all this kind of stuff. What happened to your why? What happened to your dreams? And, you know, it might not have been their timing, or, you know, it might have just been a season in their lives. And, you know, I really had to learn that, you know, pray about the people that come into my business, and pray the people that need to come out of my business. And that was something hard. And I was not going to lie, I signed a heck of a lot of distributors in the beginning. And sort of those people leaving from my hometown sort of set me back. And I was like, oh my gosh, people are going to judge me now, because they know that like my diamonds and stuff, they left me. And they're going to think that, you know, I'm a bad person, and I don't know what I'm doing, and I'm not successful, and all this kind of stuff. And so here I am, back to life. And so life, you know, is good. I'm starting to sign some new blood. And then life hit me hard again, and we lost our baby. And so I was like, oh crap. And so it was just very, very hard. And I started dealing with depression and anxiety and all this kind of stuff. And I was still working full-time from home with this business. And we were, I don't know, maybe like a diamond pay at the time. But we were double income. So I think Lee was probably like an emerald or something. And money was still okay. We were still good. I could still stay at home with it. But if you've ever had something like that happen to you, I just like went into a hole and like disappeared. Like I would post, I was basically faking it till you make it kind of thing. I would post, people would know I'm still alive and doing It Works, but I was not asking anymore. I was not messaging people. I was not being passionate. People knew I wasn't passionate anymore. I was not ever going to blitz anybody at all, because I didn't want to talk to a single soul, because my life was ruined and, you know, all this kind of stuff. And I was just like, I couldn't relate anymore, because I was like, you know, I could sort of relate when I joined, because I was like, okay, Courtney Board, you know, she's a person that, you know, went to college and does stuff, and she's great. But then everybody in my newsfeed was a mom. And I was like, all these moms, you know, are on here and doing It Works. And I'm like, they're so easy to post because they have cute babies. Like, everybody's going to like their posts. They have a cute baby in it. And that was something hard for me to get over. And so then we did fertility treatments again. We had another miscarriage, and it was bad, you guys. It was just really bad, to the point where I couldn't get out of it. I was Netflixing in bed, and that was my life. And I was like, okay, well, you know, I just had to really start that personal development back and open my Bible. And I was like, I need to get back to basics. Jessica was like, Audrey, you need to get back to basics. You're still in there, and don't let, this depression and stuff. And she had to give me some tough love. She was like, you are still in there, and, life is going to happen. Bumps are in the road. It happens to every single person. Maybe not everybody, has 3 miscarriages, but it happens, life happens to people. And so I was like, you can eat, I was like, I had to come in Jesus meeting with myself. And so I was like, looking in the mirror, I was like, Audrey, okay, you can stay in this bed and you can cry for the rest of your life, and y'all can go back to being really broke on the ramen noodle diet, and you can basically never become a mom because you're not going to be able to afford fertility treatments or adoption or anything like that. Or you can, have a 5-minute pity party a day and get on with your life, get back to work, put on your big girl panties, and just do it. And you have to understand that, you guys, nobody is going to want your business as much as you want it. Like, I could quit tomorrow and it's not going to affect a single one of you guys on the Zoom. It's not. And so, it's all about you. You have to sort of like you always want to think of others, but at the time you have to really put yourself at the top, because nobody is going to want this business more than you. And so when you stop wanting it for yourself, it just goes downhill from there. And so I started back my personal development from there, and it was just like I had to start from the beginning, you guys. I was like I didn't start back as like a distributor pay, but I had to start back as just like a brand new person, talking to people, rebuilding a story. It was like, if you've been in this business for probably a year or 2 years or more, you've probably learned that your why has changed and your story has changed drastically. And that's when the live videos started that y'all were talking about. Holy comfort zone. I was like, I really don't want to do that. But I got on there and I basically told my story and those kind of things. And I started to relate to people. And y'all know that we are paid in this business to talk to people. That's all you have to do is talk to people. And, Netflix and chill in the bed I was not talking to people. And so I had to get back to talking to people. And when I started talking to people, I started relating to people. And you guys, you have to understand that sometimes your struggles is a part of your story, and it's a huge part, and it's supposed to be a part of your story. And I started to relate to people that I had no idea had the same story or similar story or had gone through something I did. And it brought back that trust, you guys, because you know that when you sign a distributor, they're trusting their business and their $100 basically into you. Like, you were the one they picked. They could have chose anyone. You were the one they picked. And that was the thing. Like, I was like, oh my gosh, these people are relating to me. They're starting to trust me. And back to business, started doing basically what I did from the beginning and just got it back from there. So sorry, I will just keep on talking and talking, but I'll let you ask some questions from that.
Oh my God, no, I literally love that. You kind of covered everything I wanted to talk about anyway, but I seriously want to thank you for being real and being raw, because a lot of people when they see social media, they see the highlight reel, and most people are like, oh, she's a double diamond, she had it so easy, and you went through so many struggles, but you persevered through it, and you came out on top, and you're still going through it. And so I just want to thank you, for sharing that you had, those sad times with your infertility and your miscarriages. And I'm sure, even if it reaches one person, and that just really, I just love that. All right, now where do I want to go with this? Cause let's see. Okay. So, so I know that you said okay, so you were a nursing student. I can relate to you on that note, because I was a nursing student too when I started. And I literally love that you were I was a nursing student. I was working. I was, you were just so busy. So I know you shared a little bit about it, but how did you work your business when you were literally working so much and having classes and clinicals and stuff? Where did you find the time? Because honestly, just being a student as a nurse alone, you have no time. So how did you fit this business in every day?
Busy people know how to get shit done. That's basically it. I don't know. It was, I pretty much worked 90% of my business probably on my toilet. No lie. I would just, people don't bother you when you're in the bathroom, and I can zone in and concentrate and do income producing activities, even if it's for just 10 minutes. And so that's what I did. I worked a lot in the bathroom. And then instead of, it doesn't matter how busy you are. You can be the busiest person really in the world, but if you're posting on social media, you guys, good Lord, you have time for this business. You really do. Honestly, you do. And so I would like, I'm not a morning person at all. Still working on that business. But when I woke up in the morning, like I couldn't just like get up like that. I could not do that. Like my husband's a morning person. He can get up. Even if like my alarm went off every single morning, like 5:55, but I was really supposed to get up at like 6:30, it keeps on going off. And so instead of that alarm keep on going off, it would go off the first time. And instead of me keep on snoozing that alarm, I would not get up. I would open my phone and I would just start. And I was like, Instagram, follow, message, follow back. Facebook. I was really more Facebook than Instagram, but that is what I would do. And so it was sort of like sacrificing that tiny bit of sleep that I loved so much, because I knew it was going to pay off. And then in the evening, that's what I would do too. How do you go to sleep? I still go to sleep this way. I'm like, it's like a storybook to me to be on Facebook before I go to sleep. So I used to get on Facebook and just scroll, like. So I just started getting on Facebook and income producing activities, message. Every person on my newsfeed, I had built a relationship with. I knew I had, and I would just message them. And instead of liking their stuff, I would just message them. And it would be something simple, you guys, like, hey, Jessica, I just want to point out that you're, it couldn't even be about business. I'm like, I just wanted to point out that you are just doing so awesome at your job. I saw that you just got a promotion. Congratulations. And then they would message back and be like, Audrey, thank you so much. That's so kind of you. I've heard that you've been doing really good with your business too. What exactly is that business? And then it would bring it up. Or I would message them and just be like, hey, whoever, I always do their name. And I'm like, I just want to point out that your hair is absolutely gorgeous. And, I'm looking for somebody else to add to my portfolio that's interested in growing your hair. Do you know of anybody that is, or do you think you'd be interested? Boom. They're like, whoa, hold on. I'm interested. Don't offer it to anybody else. Like, I'm interested. And so I would do that, you guys, because I didn't have time to wait around. Like I didn't have time to wait on people to come to me. Like didn't have time, you guys. There was this plate, and it's like a Thanksgiving plate, you like pile all the food on there, like as much as you can possibly get, because you don't want to be like the fatty and go back for seconds. That was me. And there was like no room outside of that. And so that's like, I was just so busy. And so I was just very, 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 very intentional with my people. And when someone told me no, move on. Like that's what they stayed on my 100s list, but I didn't sit there and pester them or be like, aw, she said no, so now I have nobody to talk to. And I didn't wait on round for people to tell me yes. I just kept on talking to people. And that's the thing that you have to, once you start doing that, it's like a fire comes about you, because you're like, every time you sign a customer, you're like, holy moly, I signed a customer. I didn't care that it was just for fat fighters. Like, it's the best in the world. It's like an addiction. Like, it sounds bad, but Lee's like, you were addicted to this business. But it's you get so excited from like signing distributors and signing customers. And something that we do on our team is we do that boom post. And to be able to, it's like a competition. Like, I was like, there was another girl that had joined me at the same time, and I was like, did she seriously just sign 3 customers today? I know she did not. And then I would be like, I've got to sign 3 customers, or at least 4, so I can, I was very competitive. And so as much as we're like best friends and I support her and everything, but I was very competitive. And so that was sort of like something that I did. And then I set goals. So I would have this calendar. It's basically the same calendar, except for mine was really trashy and from like Walmart and a little bit smaller, and the pages were all torn. But I just kept this calendar in my big old purse with all my school book stuff, so I could be in class taking notes, and my phone might pop up and they'd say, okay, Audrey, I would love to order, but I don't get paid till Friday. Done. They go into my calendar. And so if I didn't have my calendar, I was clueless. And so that was something huge that really helped me. I always kept a chart with me. So whatever chart I was going for, I was, a ruby, but I had that dang diamond chart. I was like, for it, emerald. I don't even want to be an emerald. I was like, I got to be diamond. And so I was like, diamond chart, 100s list, calendar. Every time, everywhere I went, it had like coffee stains, like all kinds of stuff. It was really, really crinkly. But something that Pam told me one time, she was like, how somebody's about to promote, their chart looks like it's been through like hell. Like, it looks like a tornado went on your chart. It's like all scribbled and all crinkly and all this kind of stuff. And that's how you know you're about to promote, because you've had to like change the volume and change people's names because they've done quit on you. And you're like, oh my gosh. So, that's a huge thing is I learned is if my chart looks like crap, then I'm about to promote. Does that make sense?
It's so true though. 'Cause I know, like when I promoted, it's literally crumbled and like erased and then scribbled. It's just sad.
Yeah, I kept my chart from when I went diamond and double, and they look a hot mess, but I keep them. It's like sentimental things.
Frame them on the wall.
Yeah.
But it's like, I like how you're like, you know, you just utilize your time. Like you could either, you know, spend the time on the toilet, like go to the bathroom and like go to the couch and like watch TV or, you know, whatever, but like utilize your time. And I honestly believe this, like to this very day, the busiest people are the most successful because they know how to prioritize. And I know that you said you're like, oh, once I came home, I was like, oh, I'll work tomorrow and stuff. And so you kind of like have to create yourself a schedule, whether you're working full time or you're already like at home. Like you kind of do have to create a schedule for yourself in order to like work your business. You can't just like oh, I'll do it later.
Yeah.
But it's like you just like, I feel like you created an urgency when you talk to people because you were like, oh, we'll just sign up right now. And I think that's like a key point that you said, and I've heard it before and like I've implemented it. And that's one thing that I want like everyone to like know is like you have to create urgency in your business when you're talking to people, because if you like continue dragging on the conversation, like they're probably never gonna freaking sign up. And like if someone tells you no, you just like move on. And I'm really glad that you just brought that up because it's just so easy to like just continue the conversation, but just telling people like, no, I'm ready to sign you up. Most of the time they're gonna say yes unless they're like, okay, maybe like next week.
Yeah, that was a good thing. And because I was 19, you guys, I was working weekends. That hello broke. Got to work weekends, but I was 19. So you know what I did when I got off that 10 o'clock shift? We went and partied. And so that was something that I had to sacrifice. And it sounds bad, but sometimes you have to sacrifice it sometimes. And so everybody was like, oh my gosh, Audrey, you're becoming really boring because you're just like going home to like work. But that's the things, like you do have to sacrifice some of those kind of things. And it sucks for a little bit, you guys, because I'm like addicted to Grey's Anatomy. And some Thursdays I did not get to watch Grey's Anatomy. And that's bad because I was like, I'm just sacrificing everything. But, you know, you got to understand that if you just sacrifice just a little bit, it's going to pay off so, so, so much. And then one day you can just binge watch Grey's Anatomy all day if you want to. You just have to sacrifice a little bit for right now.
Yeah, sacrifice now because in the long term, you're literally going to have all the time in the world. So,
yeah.
I have to ask you, what conference were you at for your first conference?
I joined August 28, 2015, and so I was at January 2016.
Okay, yeah, that was my first conference also. And I want to talk about conference, you guys, because, like, literally, like you said, if you don't have your ticket, you need to go buy it because conference is such a game changer. And you promoted 2 weeks later, didn't you?
Yeah, 2 weeks later, I had promoted again. But you got to understand, like, that, I'm telling you guys, that conference changed my life so much that still to this day, if you didn't know, YouTube BFF conference is on YouTube. And there's one that I would watch probably like every single morning. I don't know if you remember at Conference 2015, I was in the dang theater. I didn't even get to be in the real place. And I still got so life-changing. I was in the theater. I didn't even get to be in the real place, which is bad. But I was like in the theater. So, but it's on YouTube. So when I came back, I was like, watching it. It's like Mark, when he brings up the Rising Up song by Andrea Day, holy moly, that's like my song. And I would listen to it every single day, like in my car and everything. And it's that little snippet. I don't know, it's like 15 minutes long every single day. I still do it now sometimes. Like it is like set your fire because he's just talking about like talking about priorities and stuff. And would you look at your children in the eye and tell them that they weren't worth this business? Like, would you do that? Like, would you just say like this is something I had to learn? And I was like, okay, so instead of saying all these excuses, like I'll do this later, I'll do it tomorrow, whatever. I had to say it's not a priority, but TV is. It's not a priority, but going to this party is. It's not a priority, but doing whatever I wanted to do at the time was. And that sort of like stuck to me because I was like, oh crap. I was like that I'm not going to want to sit down my children one day and say, well, mommy has to work 60 hours this week and daddy has to work 55. So you're going to be raised basically by the babysitter basically all this week. I know that it's Thanksgiving break and that really sucks because you're home all the time. But, this is what we have to do because I gave up on that business. And that's some hard things. And I had to write those things down so I could remind myself, on the daily, okay, Audrey, this is why you're doing this. I know that I'm a lazy person, you guys, not even gonna lie. I can get really lazy really fast. And so I have to just remind myself, stop being so lazy and get off the couch and do these kind of things because it's definitely going to be worth it.
You seriously sound exactly like me. But I need to go find that video because I remember that. And I was in the big room. So, just being around like-minded people will change your business first off. And like you said, you could touch them. I'm like, wait, Joel and Stephanie are real? What? This is insane. I was fangirling the entire time. But
oh yeah,
I love conference and I want to talk about it right now is because you cannot describe conference to anyone that has never been there. There's no words to describe it. And it's the most amazing thing because they speak life into you and then you literally leave. And I'm the same story as you. 2 weeks later, I promoted to double diamond and I was a diamond at conference. And so it's just it's crazy what one little event you think is not important can seriously do for your business. And guys, they literally talk about just working your business every single day, being consistent, and it's just, I don't know, it's just amazing. I love conference. What was I gonna say? I just literally lost my train of thought. So this will be one of the last things, and I'll have you say your tip. But when you went through your miscarriages and your infertility, how, I know you said eventually you started your self-development, but how were you? I know you obviously came back from not working your business as much, but what were you just doing? Were you just literally just posting, not doing anything at all?
Literally, I was putting on the biggest fake it till you make it thing ever. And that's something that I had to I'd never wanted to, I was I'm never going to tell somebody that I lost rank ever. And, that was something I didn't understand that top leaders have done the same. And because it wasn't talked about. And I was nobody's ever done this in this business. And, I'm going to be the only one. I'm such a failure, whatever. And so I was just all in my mind, all in it. I was just very, just emotionally unstable. And I'm a very outgoing, bubbly, blue personality. And I went from I didn't even know who that person was. I really didn't. People didn't know who this person was. And so I'm telling you, when I said I stayed in bed, I stayed in bed. And it caused a lot on our marriage because my husband's a truck driver and he's gone and he's working damn 60 hours a week. And here I am, Netflix in bed. And he's like, are you going to work your business today? And I'm like, I lost a baby a month ago. Are you still going to ask me that? And it was something it was to the point where I was giving myself a pity party because I was so upset that I didn't have this perfect life. And I was I joined this business. I did everything right. I didn't tell y'all this, but I might be blind and I'm really ditzy, but I'm hell book smart. I'm really book smart. And I graduated high school 2 years and I was supposed to. And so I went to college right away and I'm very red driven. But I was no, I'm not. Why do I want to do this business? Because I'm never going to have the life that I want. It works, can do all this kind of stuff, but they're not going to give me, they're not going to get me pregnant. That's basically what I was getting to the point of. I was it works, isn't going to get me pregnant. But, I had to sort of just redream and recreate my why. And I'm telling you that come to Jesus talk and talk to myself. And Lee sort of gave me an ultimatum. And it was the points where I was calling Jessica and I was Lee's making me go back to work or he's going to leave me basically. And me and Lee have an incredible marriage, very, very strong, especially to be so young. And we started dating when I was just 15. So we've been together for a long time and it was just really, really, really bad. And I did not want to be the girl that came home from her jobs in school in 5 months and then had to go to back work. I did not want to be that person. Small town, you know how much people would talk? And I just, oh man. And it's sort of you have to write that down. And I sort of wrote down basically what my perfect day would be. And then what it would be if I didn't do it works. What would it be if, Roxy, stop it. What would it be if I just threw in the towel and quit? And it went back to that personal development, and I had to just sort of, I was like, I can sit here and cry and quit, but it's never going to get me to where I want to be. Like it's never, ever, 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 like quitting is never the solution. I don't care how bad your life sucks. Like it's not the solution. It's really not. And I quit a lot of things. Like I'm like number one quitter over here. So stop. I have a puppy. If you're ever depressed, you just get you a puppy. They do great things for you. But I mean, that's just basically what I did. It was personal development, and not just like listening to things and watching these things, you guys, but I had to write them down. Like even like today, like this is personal development from today. I have to like write these things down. And then like one of these things that I have written down here that I really like is, pain is temporary. Pain can last for a day, it can last for a week, it can last for a year. But you can always make it worse by getting into your thoughts and, just sort of like making that pain worse than it really needs to be. And the faster that you're going to make that pain go away is by making a change in your life. Like you gotta, change whatever is, keep on bringing you down and make that change in your life. And it's going to suck at first. It's sort of like, I don't know how to really explain this, but it's sort of like, that it's going to like ripping off a Band-Aid. Like, it's going to hurt. Like you're like, I don't want to do it because I know it's going to really suck. But then once it's off, you're like, okay, it really wasn't that bad. But it's just taking that first step. And it's sort of like when you take your first step in the business and it's really, really scary. And you're like, I cried when I joined because I was like, oh crap, that was $100. But it's really, really scary. And, if you've ever quit this business and then you restarted, it's really, really scary to do those kind of things. My favorite self-development book, Jana. I Like You're a Badass. Hold on. We just bought that. They eat everything. I Like You're a Badass, but I do a lot of, I'm not a reader. I'm really bad, you guys. I'm telling you, I really am lazy, but I'm not a reader. I'm a listener. So I will listen and take notes. So I really like UOU. Just type it in on YouTube, or best motivational speeches, all those kind of things. That's one of my favorite. I like the one about the guru. Jana probably knows what I'm talking about because I talk about it on our team page all the time. Do you know what I'm talking about, Lisa?
Yeah. What is that?
The Guru. It's by Thomas. Crap. If you didn't ask me his last name, I know. But it's my favorite personal development one, and it's talking about I'm not gonna spoil the whole story, but it was talking about you'll be successful when he's like being put up under the water. And he's like, what are you thinking about when you're up under the water and you think you're about to die? Like, all you want to do is breathe. That's all you want to do. You're not thinking about a basketball game. You're not thinking about your, like, you might be thinking about your kids, but you're not thinking about, like, all these kind of things that don't matter. You're not thinking about your cell phone, or you're not thinking about what bill's going to be paid. All you want to do is breathe. And I don't know the name of it. It's, I should probably know. I watch it, like, every single day. But I'll show you to you in a second. But it's talking about, all you want to do is breathe. And when you want to breathe as bad as you want to succeed, then you'll be successful, you guys. Like, and it's totally true. When you want to breathe as bad as you want to succeed, you'll be successful. And so that, I listen to that almost every single day. It's my favorite. Like, if I go for a walk or anything like that, I'm always listening to it because it's totally right. Like, when you want to, do something so bad, nobody can stop you. Like, nobody. I don't care if your family support, like, doesn't support you. I don't care if, like, you're, all these kind of things are happening in your life. When you, like, it's like when a woman is wanting to do something and there's nothing that can stop her, kind of thing. Like, when you get so invested in your why, like, you're like, I'm invested in my why so much. I want to be a stay-at-home mom so bad. I want to, pay off all my debt because we have like $300,000 in debt. Whatever that is, like, you're so invested in it. All you can think about is your why. Oh yeah, Eric Thomas. Thank you, Jessica. All you can think about is your why, and you're just like, this, like, it has to be done. Like, there's not quitting. There's not like anything. Like, it's not that it's never going to be done. It's not a if, it's a when. Like, I know, like, without a doubt, 100%. Without a doubt, I will be an ambassador diamond one day. And that's really scary to say when you're just a double diamond. But I'm like 100% sure, no doubt. I don't care what anybody freaking says. I don't care at all. Like, I'm going to be an ambassador diamond one day. And it's that mindset. Like once you get in that mindset, you guys, and it's sort of hard to explain if you're not there. Like Eric Thomas talks about this all the time is when winners win. Like when you're winning, you're winning. And when you're losing, you're losing. And like it's hard to explain, but when you're a winner, you're a winner. Like you're just there and you know, and it doesn't matter like what anybody says to you. It doesn't matter what anything happens in your life. It just doesn't matter because you know without a doubt in your mind that you're going to be successful.
Yes. Well, I
think this is probably, yeah. Can you hear me?
I've never heard of him before, and I just YouTube or Google him, and that's probably what I'm going to go to bed tonight is listening to him.
It's really not long, so if you don't have a lot of time to listen to things, it's really good. Like he has 5-minute ones, 15-minute ones, but they're really good.
I need to listen to that because I love self-development, but I do like more of like the reading because I love to read. That's like my little like get away from working, but I also love like the speaking ones, like just on YouTube, like motivational speakers, just literally self-development is just, I love that that's like a topic tonight because I feel like some people just literally forget about it. So I'm so excited that you shared that with me because now I have someone else to listen to. Okay.
Yeah, he's really good.
So I really have nothing else to like ask you because everything you like talked about was like what I was gonna like go for the next thing, and you're like, I'm like perfect. I don't care.
I'm about that.
I love it. So if you have one tip that you could literally tell everyone right now, you know, what would your top thing be?
My one tip would probably be that, you know, put on your blinders and know that God called you into this business for a reason, and he didn't call others into this business for a reason. You know, it's a lot of negativity, especially in the world that we live in today. And you have to understand that you're in this business for a reason, and the timing is perfect. This is your time, and it doesn't matter that other people don't understand. Like, it doesn't matter that people say the products don't work. It doesn't matter if someone says, you know, this business is a scam, or you're never going to be successful, or you're wasting your money, or whatever it is. It really doesn't matter because they weren't called to this business. You know, God didn't say, okay, well, we're going to, you know, you can go do this business. You know, they're on a whole different side. They're on a different story. And this is your path. And you have to literally be like this, you guys. And it's even as Ambassador Diamonds, they have to be like this. I know Jade talked about this the other day where, you know, everybody looks at Jade Hooper and they're like, holy moly, trade lives with me. Amazing. Like Millionaires Club. And she still compares herself all the time. And everybody does it. You know, even as kids, little kids do that. It's just a part of life. So you have to put those blinders on and understand that, you know, there's enough room for all of us to be successful, you guys. They just going to have to get a bigger stage. You know, there's enough room for all of us to be up there. You just have to put on your blinders and put in the work and know that without a doubt you'll be there.
In like this company is seriously just getting started. Like we have, I think now like 200,000 like distributors worldwide. Guys, Mary Kay has like 4 million. So if you guys like stick it out and, you know, utilize your time like working the business, you're going to be in that stage. And I would even say like 6 months if you really want. You know, there's no time limit to your success, but just staying focused on your path in your business is what's going to help you be successful. Because if you compare yourself to anyone else, then you're going to stop focusing on what's truly important in your business, and you're just going to bring in that negative like thing through your mind, and just don't do it. So thank you so much for jumping on here, Audrey and Marianne. I'm so thankful that you guys took the time out of your day to share your story with everyone, and I hope everyone kind of took something away. And I just want to leave you guys with you know, utilize your time. Don't let your excuses hold you back. Don't let your reasons for, you know, you're working 70 hours a week, don't let that become an excuse. Let that fuel your reason and your fire to be working your business. Because if you're working those 70 hours a week right now and you're just utilizing your time to work your business, in 6 months you could literally be working part-time. And so just utilize your time wisely. Don't just scroll through Facebook. And like Audrey said, literally we all go to the bathroom. So just stay on there an extra like 10 minutes longer and message and post and everything. So
yeah, you might think you have diarrhea, but it's okay.
Hey, people normally don't ask questions while you're on the bathroom, you know. So thank you guys so much. And I will post this recording when it saves to my computer. And I'm so happy that you guys got on. This is just the first one of multiple things that we have going on. We have one tomorrow, and I'll post that after this. But I hope you guys have a great night, and thank you.
Thank you. Bye, guys.